whenever you act. If you don't look that deeply at what you're doing and how you're doing it, then it's going to be just a generic, mundane performance. And it's not going to get any results from you if you're going to try to be a professional. So what I'm doing is trying to teach you how to take anything that you need to act. It doesn't matter if it's a commercial or if it's a monologue from a movie or a scene from a movie or a scene from Shakespeare or Euripides. I don't know, from anybody, okay? You have to do the same thing. You need to know how you're responding. You need to know what you're doing and how you're doing it. That's what all that written work is about. So did everybody try to do some written work? Did you do your monologue into a conversation? Did everybody do that?
How am I doing? 7 years ago, you walked out of my life without so much as a goodbye, and I never heard from you again. And now you're here asking me how I'm doing. I fought in the war. Phil's dead. That's how I'm doing.
What's the last line you say?
Yeah, Allie, I'm just fine. Thanks for stopping by.
Okay. Yeah, Allie, I'm just fine. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah.
That's what happened. You'll go, when you watch the clash, you'll be able to see it. Because thanks for stopping by. That's maybe the least you could do after all those years. Right? Do you see what I'm saying? You got to keep thinking so that it doesn't, because if you don't, it will stop. Your character will die before you finish. If you're not thinking your character's thoughts, you will die. That's just what happens. Your character's thoughts are what keep your character alive. What you think is what you are. So as soon as you start thinking, well, I'm done, thank God that's over, that's what you were thinking, okay? In those last couple of words. Thank God that's over. You may not know you were thinking that, but that is what you were thinking, right, Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So in order to avoid thinking that, because you didn't even choose to think it, it's just our thoughts just hop in.
Mm-hmm.
The truth hops in. In order to avoid that happening, you got to keep your brain full of your character's thoughts. And it doesn't leave any room for those things to go whoop right back into your brain.
Okay.
Good. Now let's rewind and go all the way to the beginning of this monologue. So what's the first thing you say?
Am I okay?
What you're thinking is, that's a stupid thing to say. Say that.
That's a stupid thing to say.
Good. Now it has to last, your subtext has to last the whole sentence. And what I saw just now is, that's a stupid thing to say. Did you see it go out? Right?
Yeah.
Because say is just as important as stupid in a different way, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're going to say when you first see me after how many years? That's a stupid thing to say.
Yeah.
You could have said, I'm so sorry, right? What could she have said?
Sorry
right?
for disappearing. Yeah.
I'm sorry for disappearing on you, but that's not what she says. She says, what?
Are you okay?
Are you okay?
Am I okay?
That's the best you can do. Okay.
Okay.
So let's try that line again.
Am I okay?
What does she say? Or what do you say next? And then I can tell you what she says. Because what you say next tells me what she says.
Yeah. 7 years ago, you walked out of my life without so much as a goodbye, and I never heard from you again.
Okay. So what she says is this. Yeah, what's wrong with that? Here's what's wrong with it. That's the here's what's wrong with it tactic. Tell her what's wrong with what she just said. That's your tactic.
Gotcha.
Okay. So it's an answer what you say back to her.
Okay.
So let's start with the first line. I'll say her second line and then you say your second line. Okay.
Okay. Am I okay?
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
7 years ago, you walked out of my life without so much as
Now you just went 7 years ago.
I just noticed that. I was like, oh.
Okay. Yeah. So what do you want to do to her with this line? What is the tactic that I just said?
Just went blank.
So the tactic is to tell her what's wrong with what she just said. Okay. Now, what is wrong with it? It's been a whole freaking 7 years since you've been here. 7 years ago, not 7 years ago. See, that doesn't mean anything, does it?
Yeah.
Because you're not thinking that 7 is a lot, right?
Yeah.
It's been fucking 7 years. Okay, do you see the difference? It's 7 years. 7 years ago, what?
You walked out of my life.
Now, walked out. That's pretty juicy, isn't it? And it's different than 7 years. 7 years ago, you walked out of my life. Walking out in life is different, isn't it?
Yeah.
You walked out of my life of being able to be with you and love you every single day. That's my life, right?
Yeah.
Do you see how juicy every word is?
Mm-hmm.
You walked out of my life. What comes next?
And I never heard from you again.
Okay. Now that's really different than walking out because it's the betrayal. I never heard from you again. I mean, just think of all the days in 7 years of me waiting for you to call or say something or drive up the driveway. And I never heard from you again after that one day that you walked out of my life. And then I never heard from you again, not ever. Okay. Now, if you try to say that without thinking what those words mean to you personally as your character, then they will mean nothing. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So every sentence has to be this, of you really looking at the words, seeing what you want to do with them, and do it to her. You're not talking to somebody. You're not talking at somebody. You're talking to them, and you need to make them feel what you want them to feel. I want her to feel what it was to me for her to walk out of my life. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And that feeling of just talking at it,
Yeah.
than trying to get through to her, get through her thick skin and make her understand what she's done. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good. What do you say next?
So I actually say, you want to know how I'm doing? Never heard from you again. You want to know how I'm doing?
Oh, you do. Do you really want to know? Or is that just, you know how people say, so how you doing?
Yeah.
Or do you want to know? Do you really want to know? Say, do you really know?
You
Ask
really
me.
want to know?
Yeah, but ask me like you want an answer.
Do you really want to know?
Good. Good. Do you really want to know? Well, here are the facts. That's what you're going to think, because she goes, of course I do. I fought in the war.
Mhm.
You didn't know that, did you? Which war did he fight in?
I don't know.
I mean, it depends on the time period, right?
Yeah.
But it's kind of important that you know where you went and what happened to you, that you had to see one of your friends' legs get blown off. Okay. Because when somebody says, I fought in the war, everything that happened to them comes up in that moment only, because that's the only time you're talking about it, right? You can't think about the war the whole time. You can't be thinking about the war when she drives up the driveway. But when she says, yeah, I really want to know. Well, I happen to have been in the jungle watching my friends get murdered. That's how I am. That's how I've been. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what?
Finn's dead.
Okay. She goes, oh, was that hard? Was it hard? Finn's dead. That's how hard it was. It's an answer.
Yeah. Okay.
Was that hard?
Finn's dead.
Good. Good. That's more of an answer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dead. How do you think it went? Then what?
That's how I'm doing.
Okay. So say, Finn's dead. That's how I'm doing.
Finn's
How do you think it
dead.
went?
That's how I'm doing.
Good, 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 good. What do you say next?
My dad sold his house and we sunk every penny both of us ever had into buying this place and fixing it up.
So what happened after the war? Well, my dad sold his house. I mean, we decided it was a good idea, right? And then we worked on it really, really hard. You know, we put every penny and every inch of our sweat and talent into making this house something.
And we did. We built this place with our bare hands.
It's like, say, really? Oh, yeah, and we did. We built this place with our bare hands. When you say that, you need to remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to relive it.
Okay.
We were hauling these big beams. We were ripping down all the old stuff, and we were, we had to rewire. We built this place with our bare hands. It was hard work, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But you have to remember it. Have you ever done any construction?
Yeah.
So you can remember doing that. So you need to remember doing that, even if you've never done it. Okay, keep going.
Me hoping in some crazy way that it would bring you back, but it didn't.
So she probably says something like, why would you work that hard? Because there's a because under the subtext of that. Because I was hoping that you were going to come back. That's why.
Yeah. I imagined I built the house to a specific way she had talked about.
So what do you want to do with those words to her?
I want to feel bad for, well,
I think you want her to see how much everything that you did during that time was for her.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Because it's not just to say an F you to her, is it?
No.
No, it's to say, with me just hoping that you were, because I did everything for you. I did everything for you, right?
Yeah.
So what you have to do as you're working on this is take every single sentence and ask yourself, what is this all about? And what do I want to do to her? What do I want to make her feel with these words? And make sure you're doing it to her.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you have an idea now what you might do with the rest of it?
Yeah, I think I can.
And I'm going to go back and correct your written work and see if but you could go in there, and if you decide you want to do something different than what I suggest, you can. You've got to find the meaning of those words for you as your character. Okay. So that you can really bring it. And you know what I mean by bring it now, don't you?
Yeah.
Because if you can't say a single word,
As though it's nothing.
you see what happens if it's nothing? It's just like this, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing behind the eyes. Your eyes are dead. Instead of going, because I did everything for you. You see the difference in my eyes?
Yeah.
You just need to find the fire that lights you, okay? To make her feel what you want her to feel.
Definitely.
Okay?
Okay.
Good. Excellent.